Welcome to Imagine Online Magazine. I'm Kalani, and this is an introduction to Orff instruments. This is the Soprano Glockenspiel, and it's the highest member of the family in the register. It's quite small, as you can see, and I've done a modification on this one, and I'll talk about that in a second. So this runs from C to A, like most of the Orff instruments, and we play the Glockenspiels with either rubber or wood mallets, and these are the wood ones, and it sounds like this. And for the Glockenspiel, you want to have the mallet being held just gently in the hand, mainly between the thumb and index finger. And as with all Orff instruments, when we play them, we want to hold them in this manner and not place our finger on the top. All right, so we don't place our index finger on the top. That kind of inhibits the movement. So we want just a gentle movement like this. And the modification that I've done on this instrument is that I ran some rubber bands over the posts, and I stretched them out, and then I crisscrossed them over each one of the posts. And the reason I did that is because if you're handing this instrument to a small child, now typically we would place this on the floor and the child would sit in front of it and play it. However, you might have a situation where the child is in a bed, or you might need to make some adaptation for the child to play the instruments. And in that case, you may find that the instrument tips. And if that happens, the bars could fall off. So by putting the rubber bands on, we secure those completely to the instrument. So I actually checked this earlier and I'm quite happy with it. You can even kind of shake it a little bit and all the bars stay on. So that's something that you might choose to do. You don't have to do it, but it's a pretty good solution for keeping the bars on and it doesn't inhibit the sound. This is the Alto Glockenspiel, and similar to the soprano, but a little bit lower range. It actually extends an octave below. And unlike the soprano that was C to A, the alto actually runs 2 octaves from C to C. So this would be the Soprano Glockenspiel C, and then it goes up to C, and it also goes down an octave to C down here. And this one I've done a modification on as well, and what I've done on this is I've cut some cardboard keys out, the bars here. Normally we would lift the bar off like that, lifting from the pegged side up like this to take the bars off. Now, it's very common that people will set up their instruments in a pentatonic scale or some other scale, but pentatonic's very common. That's one of the beauties of Orff instruments, is that you can remove bars that you're not using, also called keys. So in this case, I've removed all the B's and the F's, and that's so that there are no semitones left on this instrument. It's all pentatonic, and the smallest interval is a whole step. So the reason I've replaced those bars with cardboard bars is because often if children are playing, you want to maybe have them gliss like that up and down the instrument. That's something that's very accessible and fun. It's a nice sound. We call that maybe adding a color to a piece of music. So let's say you're playing guitar or piano and a special part comes up and the child can do a little zing on the Glockenspiel. By placing these cardboard keys or bars in the instrument, I reduce the risk of the mallet kind of clunking along as it hits those gaps and hits the next bar that's up. So for example, if I took this one off and we're moving up, there's a chance that it's going to catch on that. So you can make your own. You know, I'd cut these out of an old box, just make some bars, and that way, if you're playing, now I can hit the right notes, but let's say I have less than wonderful hand-eye coordination, and I can just play. Sometimes I'll hit the cardboard, but instead of having that note, that B or F ring out, I just get a tapping sound. So that way it keeps the sonority of the music together, nice sounding instrument. And you can also play with the rubber side. And so glockenspiels, we could use the wood or we can use hard rubber. And the hard rubber sounds like this. So it's a little softer, more gentle sound. And that is the Alto Glockenspiel. This is the Soprano Xylophone. It's one of the 3 xylophones in the Orff instrumentarium. Well, actually there's 4 if you include the giant contrabass bars. But as far as the 3 instruments that look like this is the highest pitch. And this starts on the same C as the Alto Glockenspiel, so similar range. However, it goes up to an A. Since it's a soprano instrument, as I mentioned before, a lot of the Orff instruments, most of them, except for the altos, are 1 2/3 octaves, so C to A. And it looks like this. I'll show you the other side because there's a special feature on this one, which is a little bar holder, extra bars, and we place the accidentals or sharps and flats in that space. So every Orff instrument comes with the alternative bars. The alto comes with 4 and the sopranos and basses come with 3. And in this case I have 2 F sharps and a B flat or an A sharp. So you can swap out the bars. For example, let's say I want to play in the key of F and I've got, so from F, since I don't want to play in the Lydian mode, I have to replace that with the B flat. So I can put that aside, I can put my B flat on there, and now I can play alright, in the key of F, or in some other key or mode. One of the things about the soprano is you're going to play it with hard yarn, sometimes felt mallets, and these are fairly hard. There's also a special feature on these instruments, which is you can put the mallets in these little holes, little mallet holders. You can use that. Like the other instruments, you can remove the bars that you don't necessarily want to have in the music. So you're removing those notes where the student or client could take a wrong step or wrong turn musically, and thereby keeping them kind of musically safe and contained within a certain scale or mode. Like the glockenspiels, you can do glissandi, like that, and that is the soprano xylophone. This is the Alto Metalophone, and metallophones are the metal versions of the xylophones, similar to the modern day vibraphone in many ways. And the sound is and because this is an alto, it runs 2 octaves, C to C. So I want to show you a special feature of the Alto Metalophone, all the metallophones in fact. I have to turn it around to do that. And that is that it has a damper bar on the player side, so you could elect to engage that and then it would mute or shorten the sound. Where's the lever? There it is. Okay, so here it is open. And you can tell it rings quite a bit, a lot of sustain. If I engage this by turning the lever, it forces this felt strip up underneath the bar ends. And we've got a more staccato effect. And because the damper bar is on the player side, the bar box or holder is on the other side. So we've got 4 alternative bars, 2 B flats, and 2 Fs that are stored right here. So just be careful if you're moving the instrument to make sure that you pick it up this way, not that way. so the bars stay in. And just like with all the other instruments, you can replace the keys or bars. You can take some off, you can switch them around. And as always, we're gonna hold the mallets with a loose grip and primarily between our thumb and index finger, making sure to not place the index fingers on the top of the mallets. And for the alto metalophone and the alto xylophone, we're going to use medium yarn or felt mallets. All right, that's the alto metalophone. This is the bass xylophone. There's two bass instruments in the Orff instrumentarium, the xylophone and the bass metallophone. The only instrument that's lower is the contrabass bars, contrabass xylophone, which are individual bars, quite large, with their own resonators. The bass instruments we play with the softest mallets. In this case, they're the red ones. And it sounds like this. It's C to A, so 1 2/3 octaves. And musically speaking, the role of the bass instruments is going to be to provide a tonal ground or harmonic ground, or what we call a bourdon, often in Orff Schubert. A bourdon is a ostinato that is built upon the root and the fifth of the scale. So in the key of C, it would be C and G's only. And I'll talk about those in a second. As far as playing the instrument, for young children, very small children, they would probably stand at the instrument. And if then they get too tall to reach the bars comfortably, and if they're standing, it should be about waist level or a little lower. You would want to put them in a chair or some sort of seat, raise them up so that they're able to address the instrument in a similar position as I am right now. So just to facilitate that, you can do what you need to do. Now, if I was going to play a bourdon on this instrument, which would be C's and G's, that means I'm not going to be playing all of the other bars, which there are, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bars I don't want to hit. There's four bars I do want to play. So I'm going to facilitate this by taking those bars off. So remove D, E, F down here. And I'm careful to remove them from the peg side. A and B in the middle. And then D, E, F up here. And the A. So I'll take those off, place them carefully. And now I'm left with just C's and G's. So here are the 4 basic types of bourdons. You can play what we call chordal, which is C and G together. You can play a broken bourdon, which would be alternating. Also very commonly played are crossover bourdons, where you're crossing, arpeggiating. And then finally, what we call level bourdons, which are switching level, low, and high. And as always with all of the Orff instruments, we want to maintain a loose grip, not placing our index fingers on top of the mallets, just holding between our thumbs and index fingers in a loose fashion, and letting the sound come out. Okay, that's the bass xylophone. This has been an introduction to Orff instruments. I'm Kalani. Thanks for joining me on Imagine the Online